As a child living in a home with domestic violence, it was definitely a unpredictable just time in my life. It just, unpredictability was like the word of the day every day. I think it was similar to one of the statements I've heard Tiffany say before, that you never knew what version of really either parent you're going to get when you came home from school. So it was like walking on eggshells all the time. There was a feeling of having to be perfect, couldn't make a mistake, because you never knew whether or not the response to that mistake, that error, that emotion was going to be met with grace, where you were understood, like, okay, I'm human, I'm supposed to be emotional, I have these emotions, I have these feelings, I'm not always going to get everything right, or whether it was going to be met with anger and malice and frustration, and at the end of the day, really times where it was met with physical abuse. So just the unpredictability of that. So it was living a life where you were trying to obtain something or be something you could never be, because perfection is totally unattainable.
Yeah. I think for me, growing up, it was a lot of confusion. For the first 8 years of my life, like, we literally lived in bliss, and it was just my mom and myself, because my father was in prison. And so you go from this happy life and you're doing all the things that you can never imagine, going all these different places, you have everything you could imagine and want, and then your father comes out of prison and things just instantly and drastically change. And so it was a lot of confusion. I didn't understand what was going on at the time. And so, I was just lost, really. Why is this happening? Is it my fault? What can I do to help? Who can I call? Will I get in trouble? Like, how does this work? Mm-hmm. You're not used to this. So I would say it was a lot of confusion, and just a lot of feeling like lost in what I don't understand what's going on now. Mm-hmm. So it was really crazy.
Yeah.
For me, growing up in a home where there was domestic violence, I looked for ways to escape. And so whether it was relationships or things, I just found something to help me escape from what was going on at home. So I wasn't getting the attention that I used to get when I was growing up. So one of the things that I tried to find solace in, which was a safe place, was sports. But then on the other side of that, my dad, who was very abusive verbally and physically, it was almost like he infiltrated my safe space. Mm-hmm. And so by that, I mean, he just, anything, because he used to play basketball or used to play sports, it was almost as if because I picked up something that I liked to escape, he found that I was interested in it. Mm-hmm. He wanted to live through me. And so it became this, I felt like trapped and like I just couldn't get away. And so I would find it in relationships, whether it was friendships or, intimate relationships. It was just some way to get away from this place. And a lot of the people that I grew up with, they actually had dysfunctional homes too. Mm. So, if the parents or something are not home, then I'm crashing at their houses for weeks and stuff at a time just to get away from what was taking place at home. And the crazy part was, I found how to be very independent at a young age because I was forced to. Mm-hmm. And so when it came to, obviously when you could work and things like that, I would make sure that those things were taken care of. But I tried to make this space to where it's like this perfectionist thing. Like, you don't have, I'm not trying to give you any reason to, bother me.
Right.
And so I know that education is big for you, so I'm going to excel and get straight A's. I know that, making sure that I'm taking care of myself because that's what you're forcing me to do. So I make sure I have a job. And it was just like nothing was ever enough. Mm-hmm. But I found different ways to escape, some good and some bad. And so they definitely were helpful, the good ones. Mm-hmm. And then the bad ones, I had to grow and heal from those things. So it was just very trying.
Yeah. I think for me as a teenager in a domestic violence home, as a teenager is when I really the first time I gave my life to the Lord. So I think I was about 14. It was August. We were at a youth lock-in, a shut-in. And I remember just a week prior to the actual lock-in, we had an instance of falling out where my dad was very physically abusive to my mother. And I remember going to the shut-in, and the conversation was, if there's something you need God to do in your life, you first have to accept Christ, and he's your advocate and those kind of things. And I was like, well, this sounds great.
Yeah.
This is what I need. I need someone to fight on my behalf. And so I remember giving my life to Christ when I was 14. So my thought was, this is the answer. This is exactly what's going to fix what's going on in my home. And I could remember times just after giving my life to Christ, it didn't change. No matter how hard I prayed, no matter how much I cried out to God, I'd be in my bedroom, like, God, fix this, stop this, and nothing would change.
Yeah.
And then, similar to what you said, because that was my place of solace, going to like choir rehearsal, to our youth meetings and things like that, as punishment for myself, even when I wasn't doing anything wrong necessarily, punishment would be, you can't go to that. After church, everybody would go out to dinner and things like that. Nope, you can't go to that. And I believe a big part of it was misery loves company.
Right.
So I'm miserable. I don't like my life. I'm angry at the world, and I'm going to take it out on the closest people to me. So I'm going to make you suffer. Not that there's anything wrong with you going out with these people, and they're actually a good influence in your life. They're going to help you be a better person. But because he saw that was a place that I enjoyed, it was a place where, like you said, I found solace, I found acceptance, I found love, I found those things. And I believe a big part of it was that was what he wanted to, and because he couldn't have it, nobody could.
Nobody cared.
And so that would be the way he would punish me, would be, well, you can't go to the conference, you can't go to choir rehearsal, no, you can't go out with them. So as a teenager, that was confusing to me, number one, because as a teenager, raging hormones, all that stuff going on, trying to live right, trying to make the right decisions and things like that, but then that very thing is being taken from you.
Right.
So that was very difficult as a teenager trying to build my relationship with Christ. And so because that was frequently taken away from me, then it was like, well, then let me find other ways to fill those gaps, is in essence. And so again, going back to raging hormones as a teenager, I found it in relationships. I wanted a father's love. I wanted the love of a man. And so I was in, those relationships that didn't really amount to anything at all, except being promiscuous, being out there, trying different things that I wouldn't have normally tried had I not been trying to fill a void that was a responsibility of my father to fill, or even the responsibility of my mom to fill as well. She was too busy trying to keep the peace.
Yes.
And that filled her time. Keep us safe, keep herself safe. So there was no relational time. There weren't those conversations that should have been having, because the focus of that was safety and peace, not let me raise my children, in the way that they should be raised. So as a teenager, it was a lot of searching, a lot of seeking, a lot of
exploring.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, well, will this work? Will that work? Will he work?
Yeah.
Will this club work? Will drinking this work? Will these friends work? Will going to this party work? And in essence, it was a search for acceptance. Yeah. Because frequently being met with rejection in the different forms of domestic violence, whether it was physically, whether it was verbally, whether it was emotionally, left me empty. So I wanted to be accepted, and I just, whatever looked like it would fit, I tried that. Yeah.